thrown against the car, handcuffed, and that's what happened last night.
The police kicked in the door, shot him twice in the chest, and he died.
Before you knew it, we had 500 families. We had over 100 volunteers calling us. We were on the phone constantly.
And I can't get it. And I got one police department telling me they don't know who's in charge. I got another police department here. Everybody's got a gun, and nobody knows who's in charge. Did anybody figure out who's in charge yet? Is there anybody in charge here? Any police officer in charge? Are you in charge? I can't find anybody in charge. That's the problem.
All right, everybody, we're trying to get some music going over here, but we've had tech problems. And of course we have tech problems because this is grassroots media and we ain't got $1 million. Our donors are helping us the best they can, but we still run into tech problems every once in a while, like my music jamming up and delaying while I do my very important introduction. So sorry for the lame introduction. Usually you'll have some really cool music in the background. Podcast listeners will hear it because I'll edit it in, but maybe I'll help you out in the last scene. Nah, that's cheesy. It's not working. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Powers. This is Revolution Radio, and the show is called NJRR Live. We bring you music, we bring you art, we bring you activism from the grassroots, and I want to thank you for tuning in like most of you do every Wednesday night here at 8 p.m. I'm really happy that, we're into, what month is it now? According to my Cat on Catnip calendar. Let's see here. According to my Cat on Catnip calendar, it's May. So we're really happy to be here with you in May of 2021. There's my music. I feel a little bit, I honestly couldn't get going unless I heard the music. I felt really lame trying to do that without music because the pauses. They're much better with music in the background, right? That's better. Okay, so tonight we're going to be welcoming, as my music stops and can't play again. Oh, God. It's going to be that kind of show. Really? I don't know what's going on. My computer keeps showing me error message. So let's get on to it before we keep getting bogged down in technical difficulties. Before we bring in our guest night, and we got a really special guest here tonight from an organization called City on the Move out of Cali, Colombia. We're going to welcome Angie Morales. I love getting international because, I think when I started organizing in labor, and one of the reasons why I progressed from like a liberalish labor organizer into a full-blown communist that you see here today is because, I developed from an understanding of what was going on in my shop to an understanding of what was going on in other workplaces, to an understanding that was going on in my state and in my country and globally. And as I talked about labor issues with people from all these different places and all these different walks of life, I just saw so many commonalities, so many things that people struggled together on, whether it be wages and benefits, whether it be the boss being a dick, or whether it be, family care issues and all that stuff is all the same, regardless of whether I was talking to a worker from, my same town or another country. And I think part of my political development was coming to this understanding of the conditions that capitalism creates, right? And that's why we have these commonality of interest, because you have this commonality of struggle, right? I mean, that's how we bond as human beings. And I know that's what has helped develop me politically. So I'm always really excited to know that I get a guest from another country. We got to thank our editorial board member, Felicia Beacon, who you may have seen before, do our movie reviews. But I was having a hectic week. I was behind, and she just kind of popped up in my DMs and said, hey, I got a guest from Colombia, does some radical organizing. And so we want to thank her and all our editorial board members who support Revolution Radio, the IDAVOX Report, NJR Live, and all our special events, which are back. And that's the part that's really excited. When we went from being a local grassroots, New Jersey-based revolutionary company into this, kind of more larger Revolution Radio, one of the things that was missing was live events. We used to do them all the time in Edison at the coffee shop, but of course, because of COVID, we can't do them no more. So, but on June 22nd, I'll be returning to near where I was born and raised in New Jersey, in Edison, New Jersey, at the Coffee House on Amboy Avenue. We're going to be there. Darryl Lamont Jenkins is going to be there. Christian Perez is going to be there. Leah is going to be there. Everybody's going to get together. We can finally have some coffee together and talk about Revolution live. There's going to be fun. We got prizes and games and all kinds of stuff. So it's a live show, but it's a really important live show because it's a big step on our path back to a new normal. And I want to make sure that we keep saying that we get this a little bit righter this time around, although, with what's going on in politics and everything, I don't know that we're getting it much righter, but I still believe, as I started telling you all at the beginning of the year when we founded Revolution Radio, I still believe that this is our chance at creating a better world. And, I just want to hope, I do hope that those of you that are suffering from, the effects of COVID, be it either physically or mentally, which I think is probably the larger scar on our country, is the mental scar. I will encourage you to get out. And if you want to come out to the coffee house, if you're in the area and I can help bring you out because it gives you an excuse, get yourself vaccinated unless you have a medical reason not to, told to you by a real doctor. Real doctors are not on YouTube. Okay. So most of you should be getting vaccinated, but come out and take that leap. I know I had a lot of anxiety about going out in public and even a lot of anxiety going back to visit, my home state. I have hundreds of family. I was born and raised there. I lived there for 44 years. It's my hometown. I had anxiety about going back and see them. It's just a matter of being shut in and away from people for so long. But I can tell you that when I took the leap and I finally got over my anxiety and I scheduled a trip, when I drove home and I saw my mom, my anxiety, and this is just me personally, my anxiety disappeared immediately, almost immediately. 2 years of being in quarantine, of avoiding friends and family, of not hugging my people. I'm a bro hug guy. When I see you, if we know each other and we're comfortable doing, my preferred method of greeting you is tapping you on the back a couple times with a closed fist while I put my cheek up against yours. That's how I've always greeted people. And, I can do that again. I can hug I got to hug my 92-year-old grandmother because she's vaccinated and I'm vaccinated again. So, honestly, when you have a 92-year-old grandmother, you don't know how much time you have left to hug her. So knowing that I got another hug in, was a really special moment for me. So I know that, there's probably people listening and seeing this that, have that anxiety that I had. I know that there's people like, I don't want to go see people, and it may not even be about the virus anymore. It's a social anxiety that is set in because of the lack of social contact. I encourage you to dive in. And if you're really having problems, if you really can't get out of the house and you really can't get back to a social life that feels normal to you, if you're having trouble taking any of those steps, reach out and get some help. Because whatever this new normal is just going to be, is coming with some new traumas. One of the problems with our world is we really don't deal with trauma all that well. And, collectively, we have to be patient with each other. We have to be kind to each other. We also have to recognize the weaknesses within ourselves. And I do hope that on June 22nd, around 7 o'clock, that you can hop in your car if you're near Edison, New Jersey, and, make our first live show back in 2 years. Maybe a night where you could celebrate, the end of that nightmare for yourself personally. And I hope to see you there. I'm going to bring in one of our editorial board members. I know she's probably not going to make the coffee shop in Edison, New Jersey,
No.
but,
You're bringing
Florida's
back a lot of
beautiful
memories.
place. And I got some.
You're bringing back a lot of memories about New Jersey.
Oh, I could talk about I should start talking about Taylor Ham for a little while. We'll be here all night. We'll never get to you, Frank.
Is it a hoagie?
So
or
how's Florida?
a sub?
How's the a sub where I come from?
A sub. Okay.
We're North Jersey. I was not. Philly is a hoagie. The Philly and South Jersey area is a hoagie, I think, right?
Yeah.
They have terrible pizza in Trenton, by the way. Sorry to tell you. South Jersey doesn't do pizza, right? Yeah.
No. You have to go north.
You gotta go to North Jersey.
I've traveled.
And
I've
bagel, too.
straddled north and south equally.
I have all over from Tom's River all the way on up to the very tippity top of the state. So it's I miss it. I can't wait to get back in June. It'll definitely be nice. And maybe who knows? Maybe we get a show going in Florida. I'm sure there's coffee shops in Florida. Although I don't know, they drink a lot of hot coffee in Florida. Is that a big thing?
No. I mean, I do, but that's me. It's mostly iced coffee. But I'd love to bring Revolution Radio to some place in Florida. That would be awesome.
That's part of the idea. Honestly, when we started branching out, I was looking forward. I knew that, we weren't going to be shut in forever. And I do hope to start to get out. And I think, that'll come with some more contributions. If you're listening at home, you haven't made a contribution yet, we get my commercial in now at www.njrevolutionradio.com. And if we get some traveling money, we're going to start traveling. And, if we can get some other people out there to start live streaming and learn how to do the things that got this network off the ground, we can get it done. One of the issues I think that really helped bear out New Jersey Revolution Radio, which eventually became this company, was, an issue that's been going on for, I guess you could argue 70 years, you could argue hundreds of years, you could argue thousands of years, going all the way back to the Roman Empire, conquering Jerusalem. We could say that this conflict in the Middle East is just as old as almost humanity at this point. I guess recently what we've seen on the news, and I know we talked a little bit before the show, I know you haven't kept up too much on the news, but to know that there's conflict there is not something new to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's as old as time. There's so much history and there's so many, different things that have happened, and people will get bogged down in those details about the history and about all of the ins and outs of the timeline and everything. But the bottom line is there's one side that is basically annihilating the other side. And, this both sides argument, it's just we're not buying it anymore. It's not sustainable.
I hope that's the case. And I was listening to some mainstream media on the issue, which I take in on occasion now. I did back off a little bit recently because my head was getting filled with nonsense. But, to get some idea of what was going on, I did flip on ABC News. And I think the difference maybe that I'm hearing a little bit from this period of violent activity is that internally in Israel, that Arab citizens of Israel are starting to protest and hold, some sway in certain areas within Israel and not just within Palestine. And that is heartening because I think that, and some of you can go back on New Jersey Revolutionary into our archives, where we had the leader of, or a member of the Israeli Knesset, who is a Palestinian woman, did a presentation on the new laws that have been passed in Israel, making the Jewish faith or the Hebrew the official language, and essentially tiering the citizenry based on either Arab or Jewish lineage. And the argument against this was, you're creating. Essentially, you're legalizing the apartheid state. Those of us,
right.
My personal belief is that Israel is already an apartheid state, but you're even further enshrining this in our country's laws. And the argument was that this is going to create divisions and dissent within our own country. And sure enough, here we are, even, maybe a year and a half later since that law was passed, looking at uprisings, not only from the Palestinian people who are oppressed and kept in an open air prison, but from Arab citizens of Israel who are saying we are tired of being treated like second-class citizens in our own country. A speech I was watching from a man, and this is the cry, and this is so, to me, this is the most, as a member of the human species, humiliating to me personally, that people are reduced to having to get behind a microphone, get onto press, and like the man that was saying, I was watching, was saying, just treat us like human beings. Why should anybody have to beg to be treated like a human being? I don't understand it. And well, I do understand it, unfortunately, because the support, again, from the international community, while we're seeing more and more pro-Palestinian people that understand Palestinian rights and the importance of the issue, the main superpower, of course, the United States of America, President Joe Biden is out there once again declaring that Israel has a right to defend itself. From what?
Yeah.
If you understand from what? They don't have a standing army. They don't have a navy. They don't have significantly armed militia groups. Hamas and Hezbollah, yes, we could argue about the tactics that they use all you want, but these are not giant superpowers aiming nuclear rockets at you. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
And for Israel to treat millions of people without basic human dignity, and then to cry and whine when a few rockets get lobbed into their territory, which are easily shot down by this missile defense system that they have, what's it called, the dome, I forgot the name of it, but for them to cry about, oh, we're defending ourselves, are you fucking kidding me? I think that veneer is it's been coming off, and I think it's off with the world's population at this point. But our governments and our imperial governments just don't seem to get it yet. And I don't know when they actually are, because there's just a clear difference between right and wrong. I don't understand why we can't acknowledge that still, and Joe Biden can't get up there, and instead of saying Israel has a right to defend itself, saying that every human being has a right to live in peace.
So today or yesterday, I'm not sure, Andrew Yang said some things about this conflict and I guess defending Israel, and then he had to walk that back a little bit because he got a lot of backlash on Twitter. But at the end of the day, no politician, he didn't mention Palestine at all in his apology, At the end of the day, these politicians, they can't say what is obvious to anyone with eyes and ears, because it's political suicide. They know what they have to play by the rules. They have to play the game, and we give Israel an obscene amount of money to basically kill off Palestinians, just wipe them off the face of the earth.
So many horror stories, and so many of my comrades and my friends, who are either from Palestine, still have family in that region, or who just fled or whatever. I've been blessed to, I live near Rutgers, which had a large Palestinian community around it. And there's several areas in the United States with large Palestinian populations, people that have fled the violence there. And my heart just breaks for them every time. And so I did do some reaching out, but it's still Ramadan, and they're having their holidays now. So it's been a little difficult to get a guest, but I did have some messages with some people who may be interested in coming on the show and updating us with some more information. So I encourage all of you on Revolution Radio, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, like our Facebook page, get a little ding in your pocket when we go live so you can check us out, because I'm not just going to move on. I think we got to make sure, I've made commitments in the past when I've talked shit before about standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people. So we're not just going to move past it. And I didn't get a guest for tonight, but it was a lot. It had a lot to do with the Muslim holidays going on, which I believe I think their last day is soon, so it may even be tonight. So I want to wish all our Muslim comrades who are not watching right now because they're enjoying the holidays with their families and stuff. But if you're watching it on the playback or listening to the Spotify, I hope you had a blessed holiday. And, I hope the world becomes a better place for everybody. And we get a little, get back to a new normal, not just here in the United States, but around the world. So let's skip the commercial because I already plugged the website right enough. We're going to bring in Angie Morales right now. And right now, we're going to try to do some interpretation. My internet speed has been going good now, but it was a little shaky. And just before we said, okay, let's practice interpreting from Spanish to English. And then so we didn't get in our rehearsal time today. But I want to thank Belisha. As I said, Belisha reached out and helped make this interview happen.
I'm going to brush off my Spanish.
We're going to welcome We're going to brush off the Spanish. I'm going to brush out my not talking in big, long paragraph skills so that you can interpret properly. But let's find out what's happening in Cali, Colombia, which is a region I've read quite a bit about and I know a little bit about the history of, but I certainly have been very, very ignorant of current events. So we're really glad to have her. Hello, Angie. How are you tonight?
Hola, Angie. ¿Cómo estás?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. Estoy muy bien, gracias.
All right. Thank you for joining us on Revolution Radio. Where are you speaking to us tonight from?
Bienvenido a Radio Revolución. ¿De dónde nos estaba hablando esta noche?
Estoy desde Cali, Colombia, en estos momentos, desde mi casa. Un caluroso saludo. Muy contenta de estar en este espacio.
She's very happy to be here. She's transmitting from her home in Cali, Colombia.
Is that where she was born and raised?
¿Ahí naciste y te criaste o ahí estás estudiando?
No, siempre he estado aquí. Este es el lugar donde nací.
That's where she was born and raised, and she also, where she goes to school, en la Universidad del Valle, which is the university there.
She is the leader or a founder of an organization called City on the Move. Can she tell us a little bit about how that organization was formed or how she came to become a leader in that work?
Angie, tú eres líder de un grupo que se llama Ciudad en Movimiento. ¿Nos puede contar un poco cómo tú te involucraste en esa organización?
Bien, Ciudad en Movimiento es una organización social y política. Nace en el 2019. Surge de otro movimiento a nivel nacional que se llama Congreso de los Pueblos.
Bueno, it's called City on the Move. It was born in 2019, and it's created from a larger movement, a national movement. ¿Y el movimiento nacional cómo se llama?
Congreso de los Pueblos.
It's called Congress of the Villages. If I said that correctly.
Yeah.
You say, oh, cool. So what is the basic what are the basic principles of the organization and what's kind of their mission statement?
¿Cuáles son los principios o los objetivos del movimiento y qué esperan cumplir?
Bueno, nuestra organización tiene un lema que se llama, pues dice, construyendo ciudades para la vida digna. Nosotros y nosotras somos mujeres, hombres, de barrios, de veredas, de corregimientos, de distintas partes de la ciudad que se sueñan con una ciudad distinta, donde todos y todas tengamos un espacio.
Their motto is constructing cities with dignity, and they're made up of all walks of life, head of household, mothers, women, children, men, who are part of the community.
Somos también una organización compuesta por jóvenes en todo el país. No solamente estamos aquí en Cali, también estamos en Bogotá, en Bucaramanga, estamos en Cúcuta, en Popayán, en Medellín. Y la idea es crecer, expandirnos.
So they aren't just located in Cali, they're located in all cities across the country, all the cities that she mentioned, and they're hoping to expand even further.
Did I hear Panama, and are there other countries involved in this organization, or is it focused on Colombian issues?
¿Escuchamos bien que también está en Panamá o solamente está en Colombia por los momentos?
Solo en Colombia, por ahora.
Only in Colombia for the time being. ¿Están pensando en expandir a otros países?
Pues por ahora somos un movimiento muy nuevo, pues desde el 2019. Y pues la idea es crecer.
Saca de la izquierda, llámame como quieras, pero yo sigo en la recta. Y hablo claro, sin censura alguna. Te voy en contra.
There we go. So I wanted to play a little. Oh, there we go. I don't know what's going on. My tech tonight, I'm lagging, and I do apologize to our audience. But I did want to play this little clip, and I think I got it now, of a young woman who was given a street performance during a protest. Now, we were talking about before the show how amazing this song is. I don't really know what she's saying, though, but I do want to play this because it's just fantastic music. And then afterwards, I'd like Angie to tell us what she's singing about.
Okay.
Yo vengo tirando duro y este gobierno lo dejo nulo. Como ellos nos han dejado, que nos han robado hasta los mercados. Hey, no importa la situación, aquí predomina la puta corrupción y la gente muere de hambre y esas poquirratas se roban todo el fiambre. Me siento triste, acongojada de ver capos rojos colgados en ventanas con rostros tristes y marginados, provocados por un delincuente estado. Y yo no puedo sucumbir ante esto, dejando a mi gente muriendo en el gueto. No soy la mejor rimando, pero sí muy buena.
Now, that's pretty friggin' awesome music.
You don't have to know what she's
Angie
saying.
could tell us what they're.
Yeah.
No, you
have to know
don't.
what she's
It's
saying, you
really
just feel
powerful,
it.
and you can tell she's angry. But maybe Angie could help us. Tell us what she's talking about, please.
Angie, ¿nos puede hablar un poquito sobre los temas que están tocando en este artista con esa canción?
Yes. Ella es, al igual que yo, de la universidad pública más reconocida de Cali y del suroccidente colombiano, la Universidad del Valle.
She is also from the University of El Valle in Cali, as Angie is. So they go to school together. Angie does know of her, and her name is Mariana, I believe.
Yes.
Go ahead, Angie.
Her name is Mariana. She is an artist from here, from Cali. Ese video se hace viral en las redes desde el año pasado, si no estoy mal, en el marco de unas protestas también a nivel nacional, luego de que fuera asesinado un abogado en Bogotá a causa del abuso policial.
This video went viral on various social media platforms. She gave this performance on the street during a protest in the later part of last year. And these protests took place after a lawyer was murdered by the police there.
Can we talk about why this lawyer was murdered? What was the surrounding circumstances?
Angie, ¿tú conoces un poco sobre las circunstancias teniendo que ver con el asesinato de este abogado?
Pues el contexto fue en Bogotá, en la capital del país.
This took place in Bogotá.
Era una persona que estaba en la calle, estaba bajo un grado de ebriedad, estaba tomado. Se le acercan unos policías y luego de unas discusiones, los policías, fue muy similar a lo que pasó allá en Estados Unidos, ¿sí? Lo someten contra el piso y pues el indefenso no podía hacer nada, lo mataron. Eso conmovió hasta a toda Bogotá y al siguiente día todo Cali, todas las ciudades capitales reventamos y en Bogotá pues pasó un estallido social y fue que empezaron a quemar CAIs, la gente enfurecida. Incluso acá en la ciudad, pues también en las protestas se intentó dar también lo mismo, la conflagración de los CAIs.
So this is Angie is saying what happened. He was inebriated and he was just in the street at night. The police, she says that it was very similar to what happened in the United States. I believe she's referring to George Floyd, where the police just very heavy-handedly just roughed up this person and held him down and eventually killed him. And this caused massive outrage in the capital and then spread to other cities across the nation in very similar fashion to what happened with us last summer.
Are there specific groups targeted by the police for violence, or is this kind of a general way that communities are policed in Colombia?
Angie, esto es ¿cuáles comunidades son las comunidades que se están siendo atacados por la policía o es en general cualquier persona en Colombia o en Cali que son se vuelven ¿cómo se dice? Que la policía se enfoca en ciertas personas para atacar, para hacer este tipo de abuso?
Bueno, en general, la policía arremete contra todos, mujeres, hombres, sobre todo clases empobrecidas, ¿sí? En los barrios que han sido estigmatizados, en el distrito, lo que llamamos la zona oriente de la ciudad, las laderas, las mujeres que habitan en estas partes, sobre todo en estas protestas, en este marco, hemos tenido que vivir casos aberrantes de repudio contra la policía, contra las Fuerzas Armadas en general. Es un abuso generalizado. Ahora en estas protestas pues no solo se movilizan mujeres y hombres, también toda la comunidad LGTB, indígenas, negros.
So Angie says that this is a basic operating procedure for the police. They act this way in general, but there are, of course, marginalized communities, vulnerable communities within the cities that are targeted even further, especially women, Black Colombians and Indigenous Colombians, and vulnerable populations and poor populations are targeted in this way, even more so in Colombia.
Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar. And as I said at the beginning, right, we all deal with a lot of similar circumstances. What kind of help does she have? I know she's a young organizer. So, you know, it is, I mean, but, you know, once you get established in a student community, you can grow a community pretty quickly with a student organization. I know here in the U.S., what kind of organizations or support does she get for her work? Does any come from any government sources, private sources? Does her school support her?
Angie, queremos saber, tú siendo una persona joven, 22 años, y teniendo esta organización, siendo líder en esta organización, ¿cómo recibes apoyo? ¿Recibes apoyo de la universidad? ¿Recibes apoyo de la comunidad? ¿Del gobierno? ¿Cómo has hecho para avanzar esta organización?
Bueno, esta organización se sostiene por los y las que estamos aquí. Apoyos, en estos momentos requerimos mucho, sobre todo en derechos humanos, a nivel internacional, porque nos están censurando, porque no quieren que la comunidad internacional sepa lo que está sucediendo aquí. No solamente nuestra organización está viviendo la censura, sino en general y sobre todo quienes en estos momentos salen a las calles y permanecen ahí. Pues nosotros hemos desarrollado muchas campañas, entre una de ellas es llamada Solidaridad Acción, y pues hemos contado con el apoyo de muchas personas que pues nos hacen donaciones, y pues de eso nosotros también, digamos, lo usamos para la gente que en estos momentos pues es la que está poniendo sus energías en las calles.
So Angie says that the support comes from the people within the organization, the very members of the organization. And she says, Angie, discúlpame, tú hablaste muy bien y quisiera hacer un mejor trabajo de la traducción. I wish I could do a better job of translating everything that Angie has said so far. Okay. But just for our English speaking listeners, she said that as far as support, it's basically coming from within the organization, and then the government has been trying to censor not just her organization, but all kinds of other organizations because they don't want the information getting out. They don't want people to know what's really going on outside of the country.
I appreciate her speaking that, and you're translating just fine for Americans and English-speaking people that don't get every word. Learn Spanish. That's all. I should learn Spanish. I haven't learned it. By the way, I'm being a complete hypocrite because for years I've been saying I should learn Spanish and I never have. So, but no, we appreciate what both of you are doing here. Let me ask about her organization's solutions. So when you're organizing, you generally propose solutions for problems. How does she propose that, or how does her organization rather propose that Colombia start to address things like police violence?
Angie, queremos saber cómo su organización está organizando para tratar de solucionar estos problemas que usted está viendo en su comunidad.
Bueno, nosotros como organización nos sumamos a unas exigencias o unos mínimos que pues bajo todas estas 2 semanas pues se han pronunciado en la calle, en las calles. So we demand demilitarization in the cities, the resignation of the minister Diego Molano. He is Minister of Defense. En español, nosotros necesitamos que retiren la bota militar de las ciudades. Necesitamos desmilitar nuestras ciudades. Sin eso no puede haber diálogos ni garantías para la vida digna. El gobierno no tiene intenciones de dialogar ni con organizaciones sociales, ni con la gente que le ha metido el pecho durante 2 semanas, resistiendo balas, resistiendo gases en los puntos de la ciudad.
So Angie says that right now their activism is in the streets. They are a very new organization, but they have taken to the streets and are demanding demilitarization of the city. With the military in the city, the residents cannot live a dignified life. And she says that they demand the resignation of various political leaders, such as the Minister of Defense.
Can she give me an example of the militarized police? Like, are they patrolled heavily? Do they have military grade weapons on display frequently? Like, when we talk about militarized police, what does the average citizen of Cali, Colombia see every day from its police force?
Angie, ¿nos puede dar algunos ejemplos de la militarización de la policía en Cali? ¿Qué está viendo los residentes de la ciudad de la policía? ¿Cómo los está afectando? ¿Están marchando por las calles? Cuéntanos, ¿qué está pasando?
Bueno, desde el 28 de abril iniciaron las protestas a nivel nacional. En mi ciudad, específicamente, se está viviendo pues un tema de represión muy grande. Digamos que ese día la gente estaba a la expectativa de vivir una gran movilización con muchos puntos en la ciudad y no esperábamos que esos puntos se volvieran permanentes, es decir, que hasta el día de hoy los protestantes siguen en esos puntos. En las noches, sobre todo, pues se han quedado unos jóvenes que aquí en América Latina se denominan la primera línea. Ellos son quienes protegen estos espacios y son quienes han sido atacados en las noches, primero con la policía, segundo con un grupo especial de la policía que se llama SMAT, tercero con las fuerzas militares que han sido enviadas por orden del presidente y que el alcalde pues no ha tenido una voz para evitarlo, ¿sí? Entonces, digamos que todo esto nos afecta porque son órdenes que bajan directamente desde el presidente, Iván Duque.
So Angie says that since April 28th, the protesters have taken to the streets, and I guess what she's describing is very similar to some of the safe zones that we've had here in various cities throughout the country, and basically people staying overnight. They're called the first line of defense, or the frontliners, and these are young people, mostly or almost exclusively young people, and they've kind of like kept watch in the streets at these various points throughout the city. And they didn't think that they were going to stay there very long, but they have been there since the protests, since the uprising started on the 28th of April. And the police, together with the military, have been attacking these frontliners.
Are these clashes? How often are these clashes going on? Are these daily occurrences right now, or how often are protests and clashes with the police going on in Cali right now?
Angie, ¿qué tan seguido son estas esta violencia entre la policía y los militares y los manifestantes?
Every night.
Every night, yeah.
Human rights organizations reports 78 cases of policy abuse, 11 cases of sexual abuse, 168 missing persons, and 42 deaths in only 2 weeks.
Wow. I lost you.
Wow, it's I got you. No, sorry.
Okay.
That is an extraordinary level of violence, and I guess personally, how does she cope with seeing that kind of? I mean, this is in her hometown. How is she personally dealing with kind of the effects of this violence around her? How does she cope with it?
Angie, queremos saber cómo tú personalmente estás lidiando con todo lo que está pasando en tu comunidad. ¿Cómo tú te sientes? ¿Cómo te estás pasando por todo esto?
It's too difficult. Afortunadamente, como proceso, somos compañeras y compañeros muy cohesionados. Ha sido muy difícil y ha afectado mucho en lo que es psicosocial, porque nuestro país por más de 5 décadas ha sido azotado por la violencia en las zonas rurales, pero como ciudad, vivirlo es algo muy distinto. Igual lo puedo decir de manera profesional, como trabajadora social, como estudiante de ciencias políticas. Una cosa es leer el conflicto armado, visitar a las comunidades, y otra cosa es escuchar cómo desde tu casa se oyen las balaceras, los helicópteros, cómo es pasar camionetas llenas de militares y a los minutos aparece la noticia de que en Siloé están matando a los jóvenes, o en el oriente. Es muy difícil.
Angie says that as a social worker, she has found been profoundly impacted on a psychosocial level. It's one thing to read about the decades of violence in the rural areas of Colombia that we're all familiar with. And it's another thing to actually experience the gunshots, militarized vehicles going down your street, and hearing the chaos and experiencing it in the cities firsthand. She says she deals with it because there are people, the men and women and the community within the city that have formed a community, and the organization that they deal with it together.
So I see a lot of comrades from Colombia and South America on our feed. I want to take a minute in both English and Spanish to tell them all welcome, solidarity in your struggle from right here in America. And we hope you stay tuned to Revolution Radio. Subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on Facebook. We better say that in Spanish because we certainly want to build a revolutionary community wherever they're listening. And if it's Colombia, wherever, let them know.
Bienvenidos a todos los colombianos y todos los latinoamericanos que están viendo este programa en este momento, que están comentando y compartiendo con nosotros esta noche. Solidaridad desde Estados Unidos, desde Radio Revolución. Por favor, comparta el video, comentan y únanse a Radio Revolución. Yep, that's it. Anything else, Brian?
All right, and before we go, we want to make sure, since we have an audience clearly in Colombia, for people to know how to get in touch with Angie and support her work. Let her know that she can put it out there. How do we get in touch? How do we help both for people in Colombia and for people here in the United States too? What can we do?
Angie, ¿cómo las personas la pueden contactar a usted? ¿Cómo se pueden poner en contacto con su organización? ¿Y cómo pueden apoyar y ayudar a su organización?
Bueno, a nosotros como organización nos pueden encontrar en las redes sociales, en Facebook, en Twitter, en Instagram. Somos Ciudad Movimiento, una organización nacional. Ahí pueden escribirnos, nosotros estamos siempre respondiendo constantemente. Y pues en estos momentos recibimos donaciones, en estos momentos aún las brigadas de salud y las ollas comunitarias en los barrios necesitan mucha ayuda, así que pues nosotros hemos estado desempeñando también ese papel en el marco de las protestas y sobre todo cualquier contacto de derechos humanos, de brigadas de salud, de periodismo que nos quieran ayudar a visibilizar este trabajo que hacemos con la gente, pues es muy, muy bienvenido. Y así como ustedes, quiero agradecerles por este espacio y pues mandarle un saludo a todos mis compas, a todos mis compañeros y compañeras que sé que me están viendo.
They're on all of the social media platforms, Ciudad Movimiento, and also all of the donations go to community pots, which is basically women around the community, and they go out onto the street, they grab a pot, they make a stew or some soup for everyone in the community, for all of the protesters, everyone that's out on the street, and they take turns doing this, and they just go out there on the street and they just make some good Colombian food for everyone. So that's what that goes to in part also.
That's wonderful, and it's good to know that we do a lot of food sharing in the activist community up here in America. Let her know that.
What was that?
I said we do a lot of food sharing here in the activist community in America, and it's a great way to organize.
Yes. Sí, también hacemos muchas, compartimos mucho comida en la comunidad activista aquí también.
Great.
Food brings everyone together.
Angie, it does. I'm a growing boy. I need my proteins and nutrients and stuff. So I know I'm a big eater. So I appreciate it. Angie, thank you. Muchas gracias very much for being here on Revolution Radio. Please check back in and let us know as your struggle continues. Keep us informed and let us know where we can help.
Angie, manténganos informados. Por favor, venga a visitarnos otra vez. Y cualquier tiempo que tú quieras aparecer en el programa de nuevo, estás bienvenida. Y muchas gracias por tu tiempo.
Of course. Thank you. Muchas gracias a ustedes. Así estaremos en contacto.
Felicia, thank you very much. I appreciate you helping out. As I told everybody at the beginning of the show, she really did kind of organize this. It's a lot of work to organize a Revolution Radio show, and so when one of our editorial board members steps in, And not only, do you help us out with a monthly contribution, but you're organizing, and you are definitely the most active editorial board member we got, sister. So I really do appreciate all the work. We're coming back in 2 weeks with a movie review, right?
Yes. Yep. White Tiger. If you want to see it.
Give a teaser. Tell our audience. Don't tell us everything, but what are we going to be talking about?
It's not a foreign language film, but it's in India, and it's available on Netflix if you want to check it out before the review, and you want to see our anti-capitalist take on it. I haven't decided yet. Are we doing spoilers or no spoilers?
Not now. Maybe we'll do spoilers during the show, but we won't do any spoilers for the preview.
So a spoiler preview. That's what I wanted to know. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, watch the show. If you don't watch, we give you a heads up. So if you ain't watched the movie before your show, that's it. But we won't spoil anything.
Okay.
Now, right?
Yeah, that's fair. But it's basically this guy.
That's next week. Wow, is that next week already? We're going to be doing that.
Already. I know time is flying by.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It really has. This has been a new year, but it's been exciting. So thanks again, Belisha. We'll see you next week, it looks like, I think, but we'll talk more about that. Stay tuned. Get out there and watch the movie White Tiger. And then, hop on the live stream. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try music. Let's see if the music works this time. All right, it's playing now. But he didn't play at the beginning of the show. Now I can maybe do like a proper intro, outro, whatever. I don't know. Feels so much better. I was so out of sorts at the beginning of the show when I didn't have my music. So I apologize if I seemed off, but I was. Oh, it's so much better. I think it's playing. I think I had a corrupted file or something. I don't know. I used a different file. All right. So listen, we're going to be back next week. We're going to be reviewing a movie, and I'm definitely going to follow up on what's going on in the Middle East with Palestine and Israel, of course, with Israel flexing its muscles over people which they refuse to let have dignity and live in peace with. So once again, we're seeing that conflict. But as always, I'm trying to find some hope, and I'm trying to find a way and a path towards a more peaceful world. And it starts with us. It starts with the revolutionary community, getting the narratives going, getting the protests out in the streets, and making sure powerful people hear from us, right? You can be a part of doing that. You can contribute. You can produce shows. You can come on the air with me. I mean, this ain't no CNBC big operation with millions of dollars turning around. This is a bunch of activists, socialists, communists, labor organizers, progressives getting together and making media happen for the people. So do your part. Visit www.njrevolutionradio.com. Make a contribution or become a member. Either way, I will see you right here next Wednesday, as you do tune in every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Revolution Radio for NJRR Live. I just want to remind you that the police, they can quit their jobs. Good night, everybody.